Hey guys, I have another article for you. It's called The One Word That Is Sabotaging All Your Relationships. Should. Also, its opposite, shouldn't. These two words are so destructive to our relationships, and yet we use them all frequently. He should do more around the house. She shouldn't talk to me like that. My child should be respectful. My mom should love me more. All of these thoughts sound like good, positive statements. They even sound true, and yet they are so far from the truth. The truth is, he's not doing more around the house. The truth is, she is talking to you like that. The truth is, your child is being disrespectful. And the truth is, you aren't feeling your mother's love. When we think or speak the word should or shouldn't, we are essentially expecting or communicating to another person that they are not doing a good enough job at making us happy, and therefore they need to change their actions to accommodate our happiness. We are handing over our power to that person to decide how much happiness we will allow ourselves to have. We limit our own ability to feel good in the moment because their actions have control over us, and we are at the mercy of whether or not they decide to comply with our rules. I will never forget how I learned this lesson for myself. I was being coached on how to handle my husband's constant need for change when I just wanted things to stay the same. He's all over the place, I said. One day he wants this, the next day he wants that. I feel like I just can't trust him. After further question and inquiry, my coach identified the thought, I can't trust him, was bringing me the result that I couldn't trust myself. My well being was at the whim of my husband's will, and because it changed so frequently, or so I thought, I gave him the ability to decide whether or not I could be happy. Should and shouldn't statements cause discord. When we communicate them out loud, we are essentially trying to establish control over another person's life. And since most people resist being controlled by others, communicating these statements usually creates tension and distance rather than the care and concern we think we're trying to communicate. When we think should and shouldn't statements in our mind, it breeds resentment. We believe we have their life figured out and that if they would just listen to our advice, they would be so much happier. But when we search down deeper than us wanting them to be happy, we really just want them to change so that we can feel happy. It's always true. No matter how intimate or shallow our relationship is, all we are achieving by making a should or shouldn't statement is creating judgment. We are putting ourselves in a one up position as the all knowing giver of knowledge, and by so doing, putting the recipient in the one down position. But the truth is, we can never know what is best for another person. We can't know their thoughts and feelings and the way they're experiencing their life. What we think is best for them is only a reflection of our own values and beliefs. We perceive people through our own lens of right and wrong, appropriate or not appropriate, and discount the fact that they are their own individual with their own need to learn and grow. So, what do I do instead? If you find yourself making should and shouldn't statements, and don't feel bad, we all do, just acknowledge the fact that you are being judgmental. You think you know what is best for that person, but you actually don't. Making mistakes is a part of life, and even though you don't want to see your loved ones suffer the effects of mistakes, it's important to allow them the ability to make mistakes. Our best lessons in life come from our failures. Don't deny your loved ones the ability to learn a lesson in the way they need to from a place of knowing better. Of course, it's okay to suggest advice to someone who is open to hearing it. It's even okay to suggest advice to someone who isn't open to it, but don't expect them to follow it just because you offered it. Allowing your loved ones the freedom to make their own choices in life, free from your judgment, is the greatest gift you can give them and yourself. You can be happy while your loved one is unhappy, and you don't have to rub your happiness in their face either. We think if our loved ones are suffering that we need to suffer too. But the beautiful part of empathy is that we can extend love and compassion towards someone suffering, but the part where we internalize their pain and take it on ourselves is optional. And the truth is, when our loved one is in pain, we are a much better resource to them when we can come from a place of wholeness and love rather than being judgmental and hurt by them. What if it's my child? A parent child relationship is different than that of a spouse, sibling, or friend. The parent child relationship also changes with age. When children are young, the parent has more authority over the child to teach them right from wrong. Because they are still young, they will need more guidance on how to make decisions to navigate their lives. As the parent, it is your job to set the rules and enforce the consequences for the rules that are broken. But that's it. You are not responsible for what your child decides to do with their life. That's their decision. You only get to decide how to react to their choices, how to enforce rules, and how to love your child. Approaching mistakes from a place of love and wanting to understand is so much more powerful than coming from a place of judgment and control. As your child grows into an adult, watching them make painful mistakes can be heartbreaking. But when you respond in judgment by telling them what they should be doing, you miss out on the opportunity to love them through a lesson they're learning. Parent-child relationships can grow and flourish when the parent respects their child's freedom to be who they are without judgment. It doesn't mean the parent can't live by their own beliefs and values and make any suggestions to their adult children on how to live. But again, don't expect them to change their beliefs just because you told them to. Love feels better than judgment every time. What if I'm at the effect of someone else's judgment? When someone else is judging us, it is our natural tendency to judge their judgment. But we aren't any more justified than our offender. We are tempted to feel hurt by them and a victim of their cruelty. But putting ourselves in a victim mentality is just doing ourselves a disservice. Putting ourselves in the one down role allows them to be one up. We are giving them power to decide how much happiness we will allow ourselves to have. We are disempowered and unable to access the most creative part of our mind that is capable of solving problems. We find ourselves in a downward spiral of loathing our accuser and self loathing. The best news is that feeling judged is completely optional. Judgment can be one sided if one person judges and the other decides not to allow the judgment to affect them. This can be very difficult if you've already internalized the judgment and now identify yourself as one deserving of that judgment. This acceptance of judgment takes place subconsciously, which is why you feel awful around the person who's judging you, but don't quite know how or why or how to change it. It is possible to change, however, but for some will take a lot of time and retraining of the brain to let go of another's judgment. And the real truth is, if you believe you are worthy of someone's judgment, you probably believe it's true. You may believe you are not worthy or not whole because of your mistakes you've made in the past, but I promise you, there is nothing you could ever do to lessen your worth as a human being. Okay, I'm judgmental. Now what? Judgment is a very natural part of being human. It's important for us to have the ability to judge a situation to see if it's dangerous or not. Judging is beneficial to our survival, but when we let our judgments creep into our relationships by seemingly innocent shoulds and shouldn'ts, we are only creating suffering for ourselves. Recognizing where we are judging others and acknowledging how disempowering it feels to judge is the first step to overcoming it. If you're having a hard time realizing this, I recommend hiring a life coach. Most of our judgments are kept in our subconscious mind, so we aren't even consciously aware that they are sabotaging our relationships and our own happiness. All judgments are optional and can always be replaced by love and compassion. If you are interested in learning how to create more love and less judgment in your life, email melissa@melissaottcoaching.com to book a free mini session, and I can help you discover how to release the judgment and gain all of the power back in your life to create the life you've always dreamed of. Shoot me an email now, and I'd love to work with you. Thank you.